For most of human history, money was tangible: gold, silver, grain, land. Its value was anchored to something physical, something scarce. Then came central banks, and with them, a quiet revolution. The power to create money, not mine it, not earn it, create it. At first, central banks were simple institutions. They stabilized currencies, acted as lenders of last resort, smoothed out banking panics. But over time, their role expanded. Wars demanded funding. Crises demanded intervention. Recessions demanded stimulus. And each time, central banks stepped in, lowering rates, expanding balance sheets, injecting liquidity, stabilizing markets. What began as emergency action slowly became structural policy. Today, central banks do more than manage interest rates. They shape asset prices. They influence employment. They affect housing markets. They impact currency strength. They indirectly shape wealth distribution. Their decisions ripple across the globe in seconds. A rate hike in one country can trigger capital flight in another. A bond purchase program can inflate stock markets worldwide. Central banking is no longer domestic. It is global power, and modern markets have become dependent on it. When debt grows too large, central banks lower rates. When liquidity tightens, they expand balance sheets. When volatility spikes, they reassure investors. Markets respond instantly, not to earnings, not to productivity, but to policy signals. This dynamic has created what some call the central bank put, the belief that markets will be rescued if they fall too far. And belief changes behavior. If investors assume intervention, they take more risk. Leverage increases, asset prices rise beyond fundamentals, and the system becomes increasingly sensitive to policy. But here lies the dilemma. Every intervention carries consequences. Lower rates stimulate borrowing, but also inflate asset bubbles. Quantitative easing stabilizes markets, but distorts price discovery. Liquidity injections prevent collapse, but create dependency. Over time, central banks face a narrowing path. Raise rates too aggressively, and markets destabilize. Keep rates too low, and inflation accelerates. Tighten liquidity, and debt becomes unmanageable. Maintain stimulus, and asset inequality widens. This is the endgame tension. In the past, currency systems collapsed when trust failed. Hyperinflation destroyed savings. Debt crises shattered governments. Today's system is more sophisticated, digital, interconnected, algorithm-driven, but it still relies on trust. Trust that currency will hold value, trust that debt can be serviced, trust that policymakers can control outcomes. Yet control becomes harder as scale increases. Global debt is at historic highs. Markets are interconnected. Derivatives multiply exposure. Supply chains stretch across continents. Policy mistakes travel instantly. Central banks now walk a tightrope. Fight inflation, risk recession. Support growth, risk currency weakness. Stabilize markets. Risk moral hazard. Step back, risk panic. This is not conspiracy. It is structural pressure. And history suggests that prolonged cycles of monetary expansion rarely unwind gently. Sometimes the resolution comes through inflation, sometimes through restructuring, sometimes through a gradual erosion of purchasing power, other times through sudden crisis, but rarely through painless normalization. The central bank endgame is not about collapse tomorrow. It is about limits. How much debt can be supported? How much liquidity can be injected? How much inflation can be tolerated? How long can intervention continue before markets cease to function independently? Because markets once allocated capital based on risk and reward. Now they react to forward guidance and balance sheet projections. The deeper central banks intervene, the more difficult withdrawal becomes. It is like supporting a building with temporary pillars. Remove them too quickly, collapse. Leave them indefinitely, structural dependence. The next phase of global finance will likely revolve around this tension. Digital currencies issued by central banks, new regulatory frameworks, coordination between monetary and fiscal authorities, perhaps even structural resets. But one truth remains: power over money is power over the system, and central banks hold that power. Not absolutely, but significantly. The question is not whether central banks are good or bad. They prevented collapses, they stabilized economies, they avoided depressions. But stabilization can evolve into control, and control can evolve into dependency. The end game is not a single event, it is a gradual transformation, where markets function less as free allocators of capital and more as extensions of policy, where price signals blur, where risk is socialized, where volatility is suppressed until it isn't. Because even central banks cannot control confidence forever. They can influence liquidity. They can influence rates. But they cannot manufacture trust indefinitely. Trust must be earned and preserved. The future of markets may not be determined by earnings reports or innovation alone. It may hinge on how long the balance between policy intervention and market independence can be maintained. And history reminds us, every financial system eventually reaches a turning point. Not because of evil, not because of incompetence, but because complexity has limits and power has consequences. This is the central bank endgame. A quiet battle between stability and distortion, between intervention and independence, between control and freedom. And the outcome will shape the next chapter of financial history. Welcome to Cash and Chronicles, where money, power, and history collide.